Could you tell me what the most beautiful sound or the most interesting sound that you've ever heard is?
No.
Listening to the music of Stockhausen and to contemporary classical music in general isn't always a very joyful experience. But like enjoying good cheese or wine, I think it can be an acquired taste. The better you understand why and how Stockhausen composed his pieces, the more enjoyable they become. I want to talk about a revolutionary composition by Stockhausen called Gruppen. It is a piece where 3 orchestras have to play at the same time. Stockhausen wrote it in the 1950s, and he used a composition method called serialism, which more or less is based on ideas of Anton Webern.
Webern in particular, Anton von Webern.
Let's just say serialism is a very mathematical approach to music.
1, 2 notes repeated 3 times. 4, 2, 5, 3.
Because I love to count.
Da. 1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4.
5, 2, 1, 3, 4, 4, 2, 6.
6!
Which is proportionate to 2, 1, 3.
In serialism, one usually starts with a row of numbers, or in the case of Gruppen, a 12-tone melody, and through abstract calculations, the whole form of the piece. And not only the form, but also pitch and rhythm, and basically every aspect of the music is derived from this original row or melody. You can think of it as genetic code. It's like DNA. The row of numbers or the melody more or less predetermines the whole gestalt of the composition.
The genetic principle that gives birth to all these different musical events.
2 concepts are important for understanding and also enjoying Gruppen. The first one is spatiality. In traditional classical music, spatial relations usually aren't important at all. Music is thought as a static phenomenon. Stockhausen tried to change that.
Musical space has been fixed in the traditional Western music. The function of space is, as we say, neutralized in music. Which means we have always that one perspective. And then we sit in a concert hall on one chair, which is determined or has been determined up to now by our money. Well, I discussed a lot with my technicians in the studio about 1953 if it would be wise to put musicians on a chair and swing them around, for example. And then he said they might object. You see how it changes? And changing rightwise, clockwise or counterclockwise, or being at the left side, in the rear or in the front, or alternating like in a dialogue between rear left and front right, etc. These are all configurations in a space which are as meaningful as intervals in melody and harmony.
The other concept is a bit more complicated. It is the idea that pitch, rhythm and form are more or less the same thing.
I became aware that a sound is not just a sound.
We perceive very fast rhythms as pitch.
You hear the low? You hear still the individual pulses of my chord. Etc. The sound begins.
A very slow rhythm will be perceived as form. Rhythm, pitch and form are therefore manifestations of the same physical phenomenon.
You see, what is the point in writing notes and if the people can't hear them? And I say, I don't want you to count them. He says, well, what do you mean? I mean, look all these notes here. I said, yeah, I want this. That's what I want.
In Gruppen, Stockhausen uses a 12-tone melody in such a way that it becomes form. Each small segment of the composition represents one tone of that melody. The melody is being played so slowly that you do not recognize it as a melody. Think of it as looking at music through a microscope. Each segment has the characteristics of a tone. Pitch or frequency is translated into tempo. High notes mean fast tempo, low notes slow tempo. This is the reason why every segment has a different tempo. The timbre or spectrum is translated into rhythm. Each rhythmical layer represents a specific partial or overtone. Also, the envelope of a tone is used. The envelope of a tone usually consists of 4 stages: attack, decay, sustain and release. You can see Stockhausen's attempts to represent this through his method of orchestration.
And then I would fill them out. For example, I would subdivide it in musical durations of equal duration, what I call like fundamental durations. Let's say these were whole notes. And then I would subdivide here. Let's say here is the formant, there. So higher and higher formants like overtones, but we are speaking now of rhythm. And this were a subdivision by 2, this by 3, this by 4, this by 5. Sometimes I like to make windows inside. Blue being like this.
Okay, now we can wash your brush. And that's where you take all your hostilities and frustrations, and it's a lot of fun.
Although it's very often very difficult to listen to, I find Stockhausen's music always very fascinating and sometimes even quite beautiful, to be honest. But I don't know, what's your opinion? Leave a comment.
Yeah, remember this sound.
Remember.
This. Ow. It's a kind of. Now follow this sound, please.
Listen to the sounds.
I understand.
As always, if you enjoyed this video, give it a like, subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. Thank you to Daniel Gianlucano, who's supporting me on Patreon. If you also want to get access to exclusive behind the scenes footage, make sure to check out my Patreon account. Thank you for watching.